Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This video is a continuation to my previous stutter free guide, and a couple of you might have noted that even with everything that I was doing, my main thread was stressing out quite a bit, which is denoted by the main thread time in milliseconds. Here you'll see that it shows up yellow and you also get some red spikes there, which is actually a great catch, which led me to coincidentally Simblitz made a video about how to get a smooth sim, and this is basically credits to him for providing this holy grail setting or change, whatever you call it. But I tried applying that on top of what I was already doing. So if you watched my previous video, step 1 is to cap your monitor refresh rate. Step 2 is to set up your MSFS in a way that the FPS hits exactly equal to your monitor refresh rate, and step 3 is to enable VSync to get rid of tearing or stuttering. One thing that I did miss in that video, which again thanks to Simblitz, this was a great find and it helped me a lot, is to limit your base frame rate to whatever frames your sim can reliably do, a little bit less than that maybe. So for example, here I'm trying to hit 120 FPS total, which means that my CPU does not need to render any more than 40 frames per second. Because if I want to apply 3x frame gen, that means if my CPU can safely render 40 frames, that's all it needs to do. It does not need to render any more than that, since I'm capping my frames with VSync to 120 anyway. So that change of applying the max frame rate and making that, let's say, 40, and then I'm running 3x MFG. So if I make that change here real quick, you will see now that my main thread timings have significantly reduced. In fact, they've gone from 25 millisecond, 24, 25, 26 millisecond to almost half, 12 to 14 millisecond. What this really does for me is if I'm operating at a very high CPU load, as in if the main thread is reading really high on frame times, that means there's just not enough headroom for the CPU to handle extreme loads that might happen while panning and making crazy view changes like this and stuff like that. So it just gives my CPU a lot more headroom to handle any overloads that might happen in the sim during changing views or panning and stuff like that. So like you see, right, while I'm panning, you might just see it, you'll see that while I'm panning there are some spikes in main thread, right? And having this headroom in main thread really helps smoothen out the performance. Now obviously the impact that I will see on this will be a lot less than some of y'all will see. It all depends on how much headroom your CPU had to start with, but this is a great change that I think everyone should follow, and again, credits to Simblitz for that. I'll link his video down below as well. He doesn't cover all the points that I've covered in the stutter free guide, but this one point I think is really important that was missing in my video. So I wanted to create this extension. You saw that. So as I was panning around, it created this spike in main thread. So that's what it is helping me handle. It's able to create that headroom in main thread. So ideally, if I was on my previous setup and if I was getting those kind of main thread spikes, I would have seen a micro stutter. Maybe not a macro stutter, but at least a micro stutter, which goes away when I limit my base frames to 40 and then apply 3x MFG. Now obviously if you have a 60 Hertz monitor, you can do the math, limit your frames to 30 and then apply 2x MFG or frame gen. If you have a 144, again, just do your math. Basically limit your base frames to something and then apply FG to get your frames up to the monitor refresh rate. I will also leave the results of a test that I just did with my previous setup without limiting the max frame rates versus with limiting the max frame rates. And I'll share it right after this clip to show you guys how the 1% lows, 5% lows and the base FPS and everything differs between the two setup, which will make it very clear what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so here are the benchmark results. On the left you have 40 FPS capped with 3x MFG and 120 Hz refresh rate locked on the monitor with VSync enabled. So you'll see that the average frames, minimum frame rates, maximum frame rates, and 1% lows are across the board all higher than the unlimited base FPS setup that I had before this update. So the key thing to take away from this is that just lock your base FPS to whatever frames you think your system can reliably achieve, and then let MFG or frame gen handle the rest and get you to the total frames equal to your monitor's refresh rate, and then enable VSync to avoid any tearing or stuttering. But yeah, just wanted to make this update video, and this totally proves it with data that 1% lows are significantly higher than 1% lows on the unlimited base. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe as usual, and I'll see you guys on the next one.